Hi everyone, it is L.A. Jacobson and we are live on the Climate Casino. Hi everyone. Nice to see everybody in chat already being here. So yeah, I'm having kind of a little bit of a rainy day here in Santa Barbara, and I thought by way of saying hello to everybody, I just flipped to the local radar really quickly here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So yeah, this is where we are right now, and I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me just pull this up. I am right here in Santa Barbara, right in this area right here, and it has just been pouring rain. You really have an echo? Corey is saying I have an echo. Is that really true? I have an echo? I don't like that. I'm not sure why that would be. But yeah, let me know if that continues. I could always switch mics to a much not as good a microphone if that problem continues. So yeah, we are just finishing this rainstorm right now. So the rain has been kind of tough today, you know, a little bit more than we expected. And I actually saw this on Twitter, and I think this is a kind of a good example of what it's like right now in Santa Barbara. So this is from someone named Lobo who answered one of my tweets by putting this picture up. So yeah, this is a picture of Santa Barbara right now. So we are complete with sea monsters right now, and you can just see this kind of wet around here. So the noises, you know, I can hear it on my roof and it's kind of loud, but maybe another hour or two and it will all pass. So let's just go back here. So hi everybody. So nice to be with all of you again. And as is my custom, or will be my custom, I don't really have any customs yet, but here's my custom, right? This is my custom. A toast to everybody out there, all of my doomer friends. Yes, Santa Barbara has stolen Nessie. That's right. That's us. Toast to all of my doomer friends and all of you out there, wherever you are right now, whatever you are doing. These are hard times, and I just appreciate having any sort of community of people who are sort of like-minded, who understand that the troubles that we are in as a planet, as a species, as co-inhabitants of this place. So cheers to all of you. All right, so what shall it be? You are free to answer me or ask me anything. This is an ask me anything tweet. Gosh, I am not making any sense so far. This is an ask me anything live YouTube, and by anything, I mean I have a few things I know some stuff about. So if you happen to ask me questions that are something that I can answer, I will do my best. And if I don't know the answer, I'm really good at saying I don't know. This is something I learned a long time ago, that it's okay to say I don't know. It's also okay to make stuff up, but usually I let you know after I've done it that that's what I did. Okay, Robin is saying I will compliment your drink with a joint. Well, enjoy, Robin. Let's see, who else do we have? Christopher Spaven says, do you have a kayak? You know, what he's talking about with that's a really funny comment, is that there was actually on, I believe it was the east side of Santa Barbara, got totally flooded. And there is this guy who was in a kayak, and that, he was paddling down the street, right? And probably it was a span of about 4 hours where the waters were deep enough you could do that. At any rate, that image sort of went national, that this is what Santa Barbara is like, but they kept on referring to it as a canoe, and it really irritated a lot of the people who know the difference between a canoe and a kayak. That they, you know, the sort of national attention we got was calling a kayak a canoe. So I don't know whether that's, no, I don't personally have a kayak. That's a good question, though. What are my thoughts on the northern forests that are now moving north? Well, I don't know a lot about that. I know that there are all sorts of species migrating north, and there's some rate of change of these forests. And what are my thoughts on that? I mean, this is sort of what's happening to ecosystems all over the planet. I mean, the problem is that we can't keep up with how fast ecosystems are changing. It's when you hear some people say deniers or people you don't want to think about say, oh, well, we could just move. It's like, yeah, humans can move, right? We can move, but we can't transport all the bugs and birds and all of the wildlife and all of the plants and everything else to a habitat that it could now live inside of, right? We just can't do that. We don't have the ability to be able to sort of move the whole planet, right, to where each species can now survive. And even if we could, it might just be a transient place for survivability. And I think that's what's happening right now with some of the boreal forests, right, where there's these encroaching trees. I just read incidentally about this. I don't know a lot about it. I better not say anything else with that. Let's see. All right, spruce trees and beavers are invading the tundra. Thank you, Sultan Bev, for saying that. Yeah, all right, so read up on that one. Saturday night with Elliot, grab your favorite inebriant and join the gang. I am glad that you are all here. Please, please, whatever you want to talk about is just fine by me. You know, I'm here in Santa Barbara. I just want to make sure you kind of understand what we experienced here just a little bit in case you haven't heard the news. We had a little bit of a rainstorm on Monday of this week, on the 9th of January, which is 5 years to the day when we had the Montecito mudslides. And these mudslides killed a whole bunch of people in the very wealthy community of Montecito. And so for the last 5 years, they've done nothing but try and build up the infrastructure to handle floods of pretty much exactly the type we just got. And just to give you some idea of what this is like. So here is the Santa Barbara area, right? We are in Santa Barbara, and this area is Montecito right over here. And you can see that they got rainfall amounts of upwards of 10, 15, 16 inches into the hills above Montecito. I was actually, I spent this sort of flood period volunteering for the emergency operations group here in Santa Barbara. I was on the telephone answering phone calls. Now, I wasn't answering 911 rescue calls, but we had another number which was sort of a general information number. Where do I get sandbags? Where is there a shelter? Should I evacuate? Should I stay home? What roads are open or closed? The airport. So I was on the phones through most of this rain. And one of the things that happened is you could sort of see the progression of shelter in place, warnings for certain parts of the community, followed by like evacuate, get out of there warnings. And it got pretty scary for a while. I mean, look, we had like close to 20 inches of rain up at the top of the pass. This is right above where I live. I live right in this area right here. And so when you're getting 20 inches of rain, like straight above you in the mountains, that means all of that rain is coming down, and that red is burn scars. These are recent fires we've had. So that rain is just sort of flooding down in our community. But we handled it great. Where it wasn't great was in the northern part of Santa Barbara County, in this sort of poor towns, Orchid and Santa Maria and places like that. So all of the wealth of this community kind of pulled together, and this is how wealth works, right? Because we have Oprah and Harry and Meghan, and, you know, because we have those sorts of people here, right? Montecito actually got their stuff together and built these huge debris basins that pretty much saved them in this storm. But that wasn't the case to the north. So we had 0 injuries, 0 deaths here, a lot of inconvenience, a lot of property damage. But north of here, it got quite bad. And yeah, there's some bad situations that are still ongoing for those communities. So that's kind of where everything is with respect to the storm that passed. And now we're getting another one today. This one isn't quite as much, but it's, you know, glad to have the rain. Let's see, Ian Dillon. By the way, Ian, I'm going to out you right now. With your permission, he's in our chat. So Ian Dillon goes on Twitter as Collapse Aphorisms. So one of the finest Twitter channels out there, or Twitterites out there, I don't know how you say those people, but he really does do these aphorisms, sort of these short, pithy sayings that are just, I mean, they're so entertaining, and I just love them. I love the creativity behind them. So Ian says, "Oh, look, it's 10 p.m. and I have lots of beer." I mean, that's true. That is true. Let's see. It's in French here. I don't know how to speak French, Yuri. So I used to. All right, enjoy your French. I don't know. So Salt Bev says, was it true that an ex-prince had to evacuate? Well, I believe, I mean, my understanding was that the prince, Harry, was not actually in town for this, that he was out of town. I'm not sure whether his family did evacuate, but they were certainly in the evacuation zone. So if we go back here, pretty much all of Montecito had to evacuate. So all of Montecito is this entire sort of region of this map. Let me see if I can just pull that in a little bit more. So pretty much all of this region evacuated right here. And he's certainly in that's where he lives, right? So yes, whoever was in that household were supposed to evacuate. Whether they did or not, I don't know. I mean, Ellen actually had shot some live video of the little creek next to her house in the middle of when she was supposed to be evacuating. By the way, they are moving, Harry, they are moving from this place right over here, this area here, and they're moving over to this little part of town right here. And this is called Hope Ranch. So Hope Ranch, as you can see, there's very few roads or city or anything in there. This is a private community of millionaires and billionaires. And the reason I understand that they are moving from Montecito to Hope Ranch is because of the airport is right here. The SBA, you can see it, Santa Barbara Airport is right here. And so apparently there is a no-fly zone over Hope Ranch associated with the airport. In particular, you can't have drones. So I guess there's been a lot of drones kind of buzzing their property in Montecito, and once they get to Hope Ranch over here, wherever they end up, they won't have to worry about the drones being overhead anymore. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing when you live in Santa Barbara, you learn these very deep details about your local community. Okay, I am getting a little bit more. Boy, that's good. I don't feel very loose right now. It's been a really kind of traumatizing period for me. You know, when I was at the evacuation, at the call center, I left and then I came back at 3 a.m. in the morning and did a morning shift from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I just felt so drained after that. I mean, I kind of felt existentially drained because it's kind of like, okay, this is really bad, right? This is really bad. And it was really genuinely my first experience, aside from the heat waves we've had the last couple of years where, you know, it's gotten to temperatures it's never gotten to before. But this is my first experience of actually seeing what's possible because of climate change around where I live. I mean, these storms should not have happened. These are like atmospheric rivers are a signature of El Nino, right? And we are deep inside of La Nina right now. This is like absolutely unheard of that you get these sort of storms. This is not a thing that happens in La Nina. La Nina tends to push these storms way to the north. Northern California, Oregon, Washington State, and even further, and then they come down the east side of the Rockies, right? And so you get a lot of snow and winter storms, and we essentially should have a dry, kind of warm winter. But I mean, this is just crazy what's going on, and you just realize that this whole El Nino, La Nina thing, right, which is related to ocean temperatures, stops making sense when the oceans heat up, you know, as much as as hot as they are right now. You can't really say, well, it's a La Nina when the ocean temperatures are hotter than the El Ninos were, you know, a couple decades ago. So it's crazy stuff going on. And I true confession, I've actually just been laying in bed today, just put some earphones on and just listening to some folk music. All right, let's see. Have you noticed Jordan Peterson becoming one of the leading climate skeptics? Can I say this, Robert M.? Jordan Peterson is an idiot. He's a dunce. He is just somebody that under no circumstances should you be following, except for as humor, or because someone of your friends that you want to talk to is somehow follows that person, and you feel like you need to have some social reference to understand the latest, to keep up. But yeah, no, I have just seen the guy say so much nonsense over and over and over again, and I don't know how to even, deniers are something that I just avoid in my own life. I know there are a lot of people who like to go out and have the arguments with the deniers. They want to make those change minds. They feel somehow they have an obligation to be out as truth tellers, like spreading the word for what's going on with the climate and collapse. I don't have any interest in doing that whatsoever. I don't want to hear what these people have to say. I don't want to talk with them. I don't want to talk about them. If you want to be an idiot, you can certainly find your own ecosystem online of idiots, right? And there are so many of those. And Jordan Peterson is one of the largest sort of masters of his ecosystem. All right. Let's see where we are. Let's see. Robert says, I think he really thinks that he is right, but with his intelligence, it's weird to me. There's a lot of people, really smart people, who think really crazy things. There's no question about it. Christopher Spavins asked, do I have a flood policy on our home? No, I don't. No, I don't. That's a good question. Where I live, it would be really, really weird for us to get flood damage in any significant way. I mean, we certainly had some erosion around our house. We have decomposed granite around our yard. And so, as you might imagine, when you get rains like these, it just sort of digs ruts into the decomposed granite. And what I will do is what most people with DG do, which is buy a truckload of the stuff next summer and fill in the ruts. But where we live here in this community, there are all of these creeks. There are all of the creeks that we have that sort of come down from the mountains. And in this map, you can see them, right? You can see each of these creeks oh, I'm not showing you the map. I need to show that to you. All right, you can see all of the creeks here. And each one of these, if your house happened to be along one of those, especially further down into the city, there is a chance that you could get flooded. We are approximately 150 to 200 feet above the closest creek. So there's no chance that we'll get that. No, what I do have that not very many people around here have, but more should, is I have earthquake insurance. I do have earthquake insurance. And just to give you some idea, the policy that I have has a $100,000 deductible. So if we had an earthquake, the first $100,000 worth of damage, it wouldn't cover. And that policy cost me about $2,000 a year on our house. So earthquakes are definitely something that I think about in terms of an ongoing catastrophic threat. Levi says, seems clear that California will have multiple crippling issues in the future: low water supply, destruction from floods, wildfires, etc. When do you think it'll be time to leave for good? It's probably way past time to leave. But here in Santa Barbara, we're in way better shape than most other communities. I mean, assuming that our power grid holds together, so that we can get everything that the power provides, which is everything else. Santa Barbara is actually a good place to ride out the apocalypse. Where you don't want to be is like Los Angeles or Riverside or San Diego or any of the areas to our south where they depend on getting water from Lake Mead. Because in spite of all of this rain that we are getting, if you actually look at Lake Mead water levels, it's it's sort of surprising to see how little has happened there. Let me just take you to that and show you. So if you go over to Lake Mead here, you can see that their water level here from January 1st was 1,045.05, and today it's 1,045.34. It's gone up a third of a foot. And the reason is, we have these mountains, right? The Sierra Nevada, and on the other side of those are things like the Mojave Desert and Death Valley, and you know how dry Nevada is, and so there is all of these mountains, these Sierras, sort of suck out all the moisture from these storms, and it precipitates on the ocean side of the mountains, right? So we fill up our reservoirs fairly quickly when we get rains like this. But the problem is that on the other side, we're not building snowpack. We're not getting snowpack into Utah and Colorado and Wyoming and Montana and Idaho and all the places that can drain into the Colorado River that is going to go ahead and feed into Lake Powell and Lake Mead and eventually go for use in Phoenix and New Mexico and Southern California. So yeah, this idea that somehow we're safe now, that the drought's over, is kind of completely misguided. Yes, we have local reserves that have been built up, and so in some sense it's great, right? We'll have another 3 to 5 years worth of water here if the droughts don't continue. So when do I think it's time to leave? I mean, it's time to leave. There's nowhere to go. It's time to leave and there's nowhere to go. But it's really, really time to leave if you live in Phoenix or Los Angeles or San Diego or Tucson or, all of these sort of desert cities that rely on Colorado River water. So, all right, let's see. Stella says, Ian, can you post your Twitter channel? I will agree with that. So Ian is Collapse Aphorisms. Yeah, post that. So let's see. What's the height above sea level of Hope Ranch? Okay, so Hope Ranch, there's actually these cliffs. So what you have is this sort of beautiful, gosh, I can't think of the word right now. Just this land that has cliffs at the end, and then you have the ocean below, right? A mesa, that's the word, it's a mesa. So Hope Ranch is on a mesa, and the mesa sort of ends with these sheer vertical cliffs and then this beach down below. And the beach is fairly inaccessible. You can walk towards it from either end, and some of these billionaires have, long stairways that lead down to the beach that's below them. But the beaches are hard to get to, and a good 100 to 150 feet worth of sheer cliff. Now, it's true that those houses that are right near the edge of the cliff on the mesa may have some issues with falling into, off the cliff as there's more erosion. But for now, I don't think there's any issue with Harry and Meghan suffering from any issue with sea level rise. All right. Jackie says, you were talking about fire insurance on another video recently. Are you still able to get insurance for flooding? And do you think the insurance companies will withdraw all insurance at some point? I've never tried to get flood insurance at our house, so I don't know. As far as insurance companies withdrawing insurance at some point, yes, that is absolutely an issue. And I mean, my insurance broker told me so much. Like where I live, he was here visiting a couple of years ago because I wanted him to reevaluate our insurance. And he pointed 2 houses from me and says, that house can't get insurance anymore. It's like, they're just 2 houses away from me. Well, yeah, but their insurance carrier dropped them, right? And it's like, it's weird because you don't really know. You kind of feel like, okay, I have fire insurance now, but if my house became uninsurable, right, which I guess it will, just like all of Florida will be uninsurable and all of New Orleans will be uninsurable. But when my house becomes uninsurable, it'll just be here until it's a total loss, right? I mean, there's nothing else I can do. In the meantime, my insurance was up about 25%. No, 30% this year from last year. That's fire insurance. So my fire insurance rates went up about 30% year over year. I could not believe the insurance bill when I looked at it. It's like, come on. All right, let's see. Patrick Jordan Peterson is a grifter. I don't know. Peterson has anger issues. I don't know. Sultan Bev, I'm proud to say I never watched Jordan Peterson. All right, enough Jordan Peterson. Is there a link between climate change and the couple of large earthquakes that have taken place in the last month in Northern California? I mean, that's a really interesting question, because after those earthquakes, there actually were some articles that were out that were sort of reminding people that there is a connection between climate change and earthquakes, right? Whether you can direct it to those earthquakes in particular, in and around Eureka, California, the very northern part of California. They had two, by the way, within about a week. One in the like a 6.3 and a 5.4, fairly strong earthquakes. That's not the type of earthquake that is kind of climate change related, at least not in most directly. I mean, it may be because of climate change, but the ones that you really look out for are the parts of the planet where there's this thing called isostatic rebound. In other words, you have the weight of the ice on top of a continent, a landmass like Greenland, right, with all the ice on top of it. And as that ice melts, right, and that water flows out into the ocean, well, what happens is that you actually have less mass on top of Greenland. So what is, I mean, water is very heavy, right? A gallon of water is 8 pounds. So you think about just the actual physical massive amount of weight that's lifted off of Greenland. What happens is, like anything that has weight taken off, it kind of expands upwards, right? And as it expands upward, you get this thing called isostatic rebound. Well, if you have these sort of fault lines, right, and you have things expanding across fault lines, then that's a place you can get earthquakes from directly, sort of linked directly. And I think there's been a couple of articles that I have on my own webpage that talk about this. Let me just pull those up and show those to you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I hope I have some people visiting me from Soft White Underbelly. I hope I have a couple of you here. So I had this nice group of folks who joined my channel through that. So I have this article over on my blog, Watching the World Go By. Let me take you to that, called, oh, this is just kind of lousy looking, isn't it? How that all looks. I might have to just go back here and fix that and then bring it back to you in a second. All right, let's just have it look right like that, and let's go back again. So here it is. That looks a little better, doesn't it? So this article called Top 40 Impacts of Climate Change, and you will notice that earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes, right, are among the impacts that I've listed as among the top 40. And if you actually scroll down here and you go to the references, you will see that for earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes, I give 3 references. So that actually tells you that these things are going to be happening more over time. And, you know, you can just read these things on your own, and it talks about isostatic rebound and all the other things that can happen because of climate change. Okay, Russell Viper says there's an echo, Prof. Well, okay. Charlie says, Planet of the Humans, is it an accurate representation of the situation we are in? So Planet of the Humans is a documentary. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to watch it. And it talks about, I guess in general terms, that this whole idea of green technology is a lie, right? And there's another documentary that came out that has a similar theme, and a book that went with that one called Bright Green Lies. So the two of those, Planet of the Human and Bright Green Lies, taken together, kind of take down very succinctly the idea that we can be saved in some techno-utopia through whether it's by electric vehicles or solar or wind or pellets, right? The wood-burning pellets, and it just, both of these are just talking about the fact that there's a difference between sort of the climate cost of something and the environmental cost. And that so often in these techno-utopic fixes, we focus on the climate, fixing the climate, not understanding that that is just one part of the overall systemic collapse that's going on. And the systemic collapse is caused by overshoot, that there are too many of us using too many resources, and the planet simply cannot replenish what we're taking out on any reasonable time scale. So as we continue to rob from the planet, we throw it more and more out of balance. And it doesn't matter whether that you're going out of balance by taking oil out of the ground and burning it, or you're covering a desert with solar panels, or you are mining lithium, right? So all of these things have an environmental cost. And until you fully understand that it's the environmental cost and not the climate cost, then you're sort of living in this delusion that you have a solution that's not a solution. So in that sense, I think that it's accurate because it's calling our attention to those things, to that sort of misrepresentation of the current state of things. And yeah, I really love that movie. I've watched it maybe 3 times, Planet of the Humans. So if you haven't seen that yet, please do watch that on YouTube. All right. Is anybody else? I see Russell Viper saying, whatever you're saying, it's being repeated over and over again. Am I? All right. I don't know whether that's happening or not for all of you. I'm hoping it's not. Oh, look, I have this little person asking for, I have to remove this person. All right, let's see. Let's see where we are here. All right, only you, Russell Viper, are getting the echo. Why are they spraying every day from planes, aka geoengineering? Steve, watch. So, there is this recent study that came out. If I can turn what you're saying into some actual science, that when jets are flying around, right, one of the things that comes out of them are these nitrous oxides, NOx, right? So nitrogen, oxygen, some number of oxygens. And, oh, we're getting good rain right at this moment. I can hear it pouring up there. So these nitrous oxides, what they actually do is, and I don't know how the chemistry works precisely, but they create more hydroxyl radicals. And hydroxyl is what metabolizes or oxidizes methane. So when everybody's flying a lot, and these planes are actually emitting all this spray they're emitting, if you want to call it spray, that is actually doing 2 good things for the planet. Number one, it's creating more hydroxyl radicals that are oxidizing methane. And number 2, it's putting more sulfates into high elevation so that we can get sort of more reflection right off the top of the sulfates. We don't get as much incoming solar radiation. So that's this effect that we really have to worry about. As we clean up fuels, we get rid of the sulfates, the air gets cleaner, the planet heats up. So there was this recent study that just came out a couple of, was it even a couple of months ago? It might have been just a month ago, that said that during the global shutdown that happened right after the start of the pandemic, we got this huge spike in methane. And at least half of that spike was due to no longer having the same amount of air travel or vehicle emissions. that because we weren't emitting as much of these nitrous oxides, that we were essentially allowing the methane to live in the atmosphere for a longer time. And so, there is something I just want to show you that relates to is this, is our methane that we're actually living through right now. This is our current methane reading. And anybody who's been following me on Twitter knows that I like to put a sort of a monthly gamble out there about methane quantity. Will methane in this month be above that level? Will methane be above that level? And so, it's been considerably lower than expected this year so far, methane. And so one of the theories for why that's true is that we have so much more air travel than we have had in the last couple of years, right? So because we're having air travel, we're generating more of these hydroxyl radicals that's oxidizing our methane, so we're not spiking the methane as fast. Well, great for the planet that we don't have as much methane. But again, this is one of these weird sorts of paradoxes that civilization has put itself in, where there's really no way out, right? This is one of these devil's bargains. Like we need to stop having planes fly because they are tremendous polluters, right? But the less they fly, the more methane we get because we're not creating as many oxidants. So, and the hotter the planet gets because we're not creating as much high-level sulfate. So it is kind of a crazy situation with air travel right now. And I know that's not exactly the answer you're looking for, but there you go. Okay, Stan asks, recently you said 2.0C by 2040. A few months ago, I read someone reliable predicting 2.4 by 2040. Not a huge difference, but just wondering, okay, so Michael Mann in 2014 predicted 2.0 by 2036. I believe that's true. And his statement was, if we don't change our emissions, if we keep our current trajectory. James Hansen also is on the sort of 2.0 by 2040. So I feel like I have, it's not just a number I'm pulling out of thin air. I think 2.0 by 2040 is also one of the bets, one of the wagers I have on my website. I'm going to just look that up right now because you got me interested in my own. I forget the wagers I make. So let's look at my my casino and see what I have there. So here we go. Hang on a second. Here we go. This is the climate casino. So this is where I put the wagers. And here are the open wagers I have. So let's see. Global temperatures. I don't have a... wow, I don't have that. I feel so embarrassed. I'm going to have to do that. But I do have a global temperatures 1.3 this year as a wager, 1.5 by 2024 as a wager. I would definitely say odds are in favor, well in favor of 2.0 by 2040. 2036 is looking pretty good right now, and that is not going to be a good world. All right, Marty Knudsen says, how much walking do you do in a typical day? I have a little phone app that I set for 9,000 steps. So my typical week will be between 60 and 70,000 steps. So I am walking about 2,100 steps to a mile. So that is going to be somewhere in the range of 30 miles a week. I'm sorry if you're in kilometers, 50 kilometers a week. Maybe 6, 7, 8 kilometers a day, 5 miles a day. So somewhere around like that. Hi, Patrick. You found me through SWU. For those who don't know, let me show what he's talking about. So SWU, if you have not yet seen this channel, you have to go check out Soft White Underbelly. This is a truly unique channel on YouTube. And I want to make sure that I'm not getting the sound from this as we're going, and I think I am. So I have to cancel that. So if you've not yet visited this channel, please do, and you can actually find my video there. I don't know, it's probably hard to find right now. It's way down the list somewhere. There I am. So you can find my video on soft white underbelly. So the person who runs this channel, Mark Laita, is really one of the most unique people I've ever met in my life. His mission is to give a voice to people who are not often heard, right? They are the soft white underbelly of civilization, of society, of our society, whether they're drug addicts or mentally ill, or a prostitute or incest or whatever the thing is. These are people who you don't hear from. They're just people that I don't know how to say it any better than the soft white underbelly of society. So it was an honor to be on that channel, and for Mark to sort of recognize the Doomer community as an unheard community that has a voice, that has an intelligence and opinions, and are well worth sort of putting forth, right? Promoting on his channel. I was overjoyed. So yeah, if you haven't ventured to that channel, please do it. Let's see where we are here. Let's see. Ian Dillon says, what channels are my own go-to source of YouTube doom apart from Hambone Littletail? So talking about the channel Collapse Chronicles, which is Sam Mitchell's channel. You know what's weird? I don't actually watch a lot of doom on YouTube. I did when I was sort of first learning about things, and I think there's a lot of value there. Michael, is his name Michael Dowd, has a great channel with a bunch of different interviews, but there's lots of channels that sort of interview people and have these great explanations. I love Paul Beckwith. Anything he puts out is always fun to watch. He's kind of a scientist after my own heart, so I enjoy that. But what I like to do is read, so I find myself reading a lot more than watching the YouTube videos. When something interesting comes up, I will often just put it on my, listen to it. I'll put the YouTube on, but listen to it as I'm walking. But that, it's just spread over whatever comes up. There's one person I never watch or listen to, and I will not name the person, but you probably know who I'm talking about. All right, David Ulrich says, hello, I noticed your Earth energy imbalance calculations are revised lower at 11 Hiroshimas per second than its peak of 13.3 Hiroshimas per second. Is there a difference? Is the difference a return to business as usual? What would a 3-year COVID-style shutdown do to Hiroshimas per second then? Well, look, Hiroshimas per second, what he's talking about, let me just pull up what we're talking about here. Here we go, and I'm actually going to have to move it over like that, and let me put this up right now. So we're talking about this graph that I just posted today. So James Hansen said that Earth energy imbalance is the single metric, the single number we really need to be paying attention to when it comes to climate change. What it is it's the difference in watts per meter squared between the solar radiation incoming to the planet, being absorbed by the planet, and the radiation, the outgoing long wave radiation being bounced off the planet and going back out into outer space. And so anytime you have more coming in than going out, then you're going to heat the place up, right? You're going to heat things up. And so this has been measured fairly accurately since about the year 2000. And it's sort of a good idea to put this in 12-month running average, and so you kind of smooth out the data because there's a yearly cycle like there is with most of these things. So I recently got a hold of via this fellow named Leon Simmons on Twitter. I got a hold of the data, the hard data that lets you actually calculate the Earth energy imbalance, for every single month since the year 2001. And what I decided to do was to convert that into Hiroshima bombs. Now, if you look at this graph, this is a graph of Earth energy imbalance expressed as the number of Hiroshima nuclear bombs per second. So if you think of a Hiroshima bomb, right? 76 kilotons is what I think that everybody's agreed its effective yield is. You look at that thing and actually compute the total amount of energy that came from that bomb, right? All of it together, right? And you say, let's take all of that heat and that energy and say, how many of those are happening every second on the planet as far as heating the planet up? And there was an article back in the early 2000s that said, oh, there's 3 or there's 4, right? And you can actually, if you go look this thing up, you will find archival articles that are talking about we're heating at the rate of 4 Hiroshimas a second or 3 a second. And I decided to redo this after Leon Simmons posted this number right up here earlier this year. And I actually have an article on my website where I go through the how I did the calculation, so you can actually see the exact methodology for this calculation if you're interested in that, right? So at any rate, now of course I've lost where I just was. Let's see if blast. I have to get you back to that other page. I think it's going to be right here. All right. So it turned out that we were at 13.3 Hiroshimas per second for a 12-month running average as of February this year. Now you can see just based on this graph that there's lots of ups and downs to this. And so you can't ever say that well, this or that thing and now we're back to business as usual, because it varies a lot. It varies by so many factors, like the ENSO cycle, El Nino versus La Nina, by the global cloud cover, by the sort of solar events that are going on or not, where we are in the solar cycle, and all these other sort of interfering factors. So what I decided to do later on since this is to actually generate a 3-year running average, because that really smooths this graph out over all of these sort of climate cycles that are happening and everything else. And you really get a sense for where we are with respect to incoming energy to the planet. And right now if you did a 3-year average, we are just about at 10 Hiroshima bombs per second worth of heat going into this planet, right? So that would be what, 3,600 per hour? And multiply that by 24, I forget what the number is, 88,000 or so Hiroshimas a day. That's where we are right now with the difference between incoming solar radiation and outgoing long-wave radiation. So, I mean, it's a mind-blowing number. It's an absolutely mind-blowing number that we have that much heat coming into the planet, but that is where we are. So, I mean, this is another thing. It's like you think about how fast the temperature has risen on the planet. We've gone, we're now at about 1.2 C since the 1850 to 1900 baseline. But then you look at this Earth energy imbalance, and we have gone from an Earth energy imbalance of about 3 Hiroshimas per second up to 10 Hiroshimas per second, right? That's over 3 times as much Hiroshima bombs per second in just the span of 20 years, right? I mean, in 20 years, are we going to go up another 3 times? We're going to be at 30 Hiroshimas per second? I mean, this is unsustainable. If anything was unsustainable, it is the Earth energy imbalance and what's happening to that. So yeah, that's a really interesting question. Thank you, David. All right, I'm going to just sort of, it echoes if you're viewing from Twitter and YouTube at the same time. Jackie says, I can't stand the rain. Christopher says, are you building Jacob's Ark in the garage? Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is Jacob's Ark right here. You see all those ice cubes in there? This is like, I'm modeling the melting of Antarctica right in this cup right here. This is my own personal science experiment. That's the Thwaites ice cube right there. Robert M. says, on the other hand, air travel shows and proves that geoengineering works. Well, yeah, we know geoengineering works because humans have been geoengineering the planet for the last 250 years, right? So obviously, geoengineering works. It's just that controlled geoengineering is not the thing that necessarily works. All right, let's see where we are. Hi, Lisa. Hi, I'm late. Thank you so much. We shouldn't be flying. If we were to fly, we would have been born with wings. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is another one of these things. It's like most people didn't travel very far in their entire lives. You know, if you were born in I don't know, France, right? In the 1600s, you were probably lucky if in your life you saw Italy or Germany or whatever, you know, the country the equivalent was at the time, that you traveled 200 miles in your life. You know, it's just crazy how much travel we do these days. Bill Gates said that we are going to hit 1.5. Well, yeah, but I think he said something like overshoot. We're going to hit it and overshoot. And this is this funny thing that's happening with climate scientists right now. A lot of them are using the word overshoot. You hear climate scientists, you hear IPCC talking about overshoot. And what they mean by overshoot is not overshoot, right? Overshoot means that the population has exceeded the carrying capacity of its environment. So humans have overshot the carrying capacity of planet Earth to sustain themselves. And when you have that, then you have something called a bottleneck, which is essentially when a bunch of humans die off and then something comes after that, which is different than the overshoot that Bill Gates is talking about, that, well, we're going to get past 1.5, but because we live in a perfect techno-utopia, we're going to manage to somehow get back under 1.5 just in the nick of time after all of these technologies come on and save ourselves. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So let's see. Yeah, Robert, next El Nino might take us close to 1.5. I completely agree with that. So just, I'm not sure whether I've shown this yet, but let me just pull this one up right over here in case you haven't seen this yet. So one of the things I like to do, you know, you asked me, what do I troll? I troll all these weird websites. I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different websites, climate-related websites, sort of hard linked on my computer monitor, where I can click on any one of them and see something. And I just like to troll these things. And one of them I troll for once a month on the second Thursday of each month. We get an updated El Nino long-range forecast. And so this one, what's today? Saturday. This came out. This is fresh off the press 2 days ago. And these are the probabilities for, for El Nino that are coming up for this year, right? And what we see here for the first time is that the August, September, October probabilities put El Nino over 50%. And that's the first one of these that has actually been out there. I think the official number is 51% chance of El Nino. But I mean, as the year progresses, we can expect that to go up even more from there. So what does this mean in practice? Well, it means the Northern Hemisphere is not going to have the cooling impact of La Nina over our summer anymore. So we should expect at least a warmer summer this summer than last. So what that means for England or other places that have heat waves, I don't know. But we should expect it to be warmer. But once the El Nino happens, if you don't understand what this is, so essentially in the Pacific, we have this sort of region of ocean, this that spans like entire east to west of the Pacific, where when the winds blow in one direction, it kind of, all the hot water gets buried down and cold water is on the surface, right? And then the surface cold water is what drives the storms. And because there is cold water, we get sort of the cooler air being injected into the atmosphere that's blowing over this water. And so the planet tends to be a little bit cooler during the La Nina years. And when the winds sort of naturally cycle in one direction and the next, when they go the other direction, you kind of get this upwelling of all those buried cool waters, and the hot waters come up. And then what you get is, of course, hot water is going to have more evaporation, more water being injected in the atmosphere, just it's evaporating. So you get more heat, first of all, but you also get more atmospheric moisture. So you get these huge flooding rainstorms over California, like we've been getting. So what this really means when you look at this graph is that we can expect by possibly by next winter to have these huge rainstorms or events happening, in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere we can expect, some superheating because that hotter, moister, warmer air is going into the atmosphere. So, by next southern hemisphere summer, not this one, but next one, they should expect just outrageously hot weather. And then we should be getting that same hot weather probably towards the summer of 2024. So my personal prediction right now, based on this sort of preliminary probabilities, is 1.3 globally in 2023 and about a 50-50 chance of 1.5 in 2024 right now. So yeah, interesting question to sort of talk about and think about. So some other people are saying that Environmental Coffee House, yeah, I would certainly, that's Sandy Shola's site, and she has a YouTube channel. She does YouTube Live, and she's interviewed me a couple times. So that's certainly a place to check out if you like to troll for good stuff online. Michael Dowd, I agree. He is just a fabulous, fabulous person. I had a 1 hour conversation with Michael about a year ago and instantly just fell in love with the man and haven't heard from him since directly. Kind of wondered about that. He just hasn't reached out to me. But I think what he's done on his own channel is really spectacular. So he is great. And William Rees, if you have not checked out the interviews with William Rees, please do that immediately. I'm looking through the chat, and Lisa's suggesting William Rees. And yes, that is one of the most must listen to people on YouTube. I have listened to a whole bunch of stuff from William Rees. And he's one of these people who is just like such a down-to-earth, common sense scientist, right? He's not saying things to exaggerate anything. He's just like saying this is how it is, right? And it's just really brilliant. And yeah, Stan is saying Michael Dowd's two-part primer and overshoot. I agree. If you haven't seen that, look up Michael Dowd's channel. I think it's called Post Doom or something like that. He's got a YouTube channel, so you need to talk about that. So let's see, where am I in this? Jackie says, I love your calculation for this, so easy to understand. I think she's talking about my calculation for the Hiroshima bombs. Yeah, I actually checked that out, by the way, my calculation with the person who originated the Hiroshima bomb analogy. So it's interesting that you're even sort of talking in those, that I can present this, because after I did my calculation and I got 13.3 and I published that on Twitter, I had some meteorologists, not climate scientists, but meteorologists say, well, I'm using 4 because that's what so-and-so said, it's 4. And I'm like, no, it's 13.3. And they're like, well, yeah, but your stuff hasn't been peer reviewed. And so I went to the original person who, actually did the calculation and Let me just take you to that one more time here. And I asked the originator of this calculation, have I done this correctly? And he came back and was very kind and said, yes, my work is correct. So this has been peer reviewed, this article, right? Peer reviewed in the sense that the guy who did the original calculation saying it was 3 or whatever way back in the early 2000s, right, has agreed that it was 13.3 based on the number when I did this. So if you really want to see the math of this, it's so easy to understand, and it's just remarkably straightforward calculation. I couldn't believe that, it's not like I'm a brilliant climate scientist, but you just say, okay, the Earth is a sphere, and do some sort of obvious things, and there you go. Let's see. You loved Nate's interview with Bill Reese this weekend. Dowd and Beckwith are fabulous too. Yes, I agree with that. Robert M. says you calculated a few years ago and got 5 Hiroshima bombs. Yeah, that probably sounds about right, a few years ago. Have I seen the latest videos with Paul Beckwith? No, I have not. They came up on my YouTube. I just didn't watch them. Maybe I'll have to get to those. Matt Hunter says, I'm living to experience mass extinction. Please don't remove me. I don't know what you're talking about. I do remove people, by the way, so I hope that's not what you're talking about. I have zero tolerance for deniers or trolls. So if you sort of come at me with one of the memes that a denier would use, then you're blocked immediately. I don't ask questions. I don't engage with you. So someone today, after I posted the graph about the Earth energy imbalance, made a comment about, well, could you do that in terms of gas stoves? Now, once you understand what it means behind somebody saying, well, could you, do it in terms of gas stoves? So there's this whole thing going on in New York right now, and the right wing is sort of saying that, the climate people are coming after us for our gas stoves, right? So there's this kind of mockery of the right wing going on of people invested in climate scientists, and they're using this gas stove meme. So once the person mentioned that, right, they were just gone. I didn't need to clarify what they meant by gas stoves. I knew what they meant. So yeah, I won't block you as long as you're not a, All right, Sultan Bev, and I could not agree with you more. For any newcomers from Soft White Underbelly here, the most important book you could read is William Catton's Overshoot, published in 1981. Yes. William Catton's Overshoot, 1981. You can actually find William Catton talking about that on YouTube, and that is like that's an example for me of what I listen to on YouTube is if I know there's somebody like William Catton out there who wrote essentially the most important book, arguably the most important book since Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring, right? Or The Population Bomb, Paul Ehrlich. So yeah, William Catton's Overshoot. So you definitely have to get that book and then go to YouTube and listen to interviews with Catton. Just amazing stuff there. David Ulrich, I'm sorry to say that your rescue, Sassy, passed away yesterday evening. Please give Rosie an extra hug tonight. Death is sad. So Rosie is 13 and Daisy is 15. And I think Rosie has doggy dementia. And Daisy is fairly incontinent right now. I have an old dog and I have 2 old dogs, and my cat is like 8 or 9 now. I just love our animals. I love our pets, and it is so sad to lose a pet. So I'm really sorry, David, that you lost your Sassy yesterday. That's, it's heartbreaking to lose a pet because they're just such. They don't have any of the stuff that humans have, right? We've got all this stuff, right? Our pets don't have that stuff. They're just there for us. So they're such good friends. So let's see. Hope to see me on Nate Hagen's Great Simplification podcast. Thank you. I would certainly consider an invitation. I was just on the BBC recently. It was the most crazy little podcast. I'm not sure if anybody got that, but the BBC, what they had was a whole hour long on what they called Prophets of Doom. And so they featured me, and in this entire, podcast, the sort of climate doom community, we got about 2 minutes. And I was sort of the voice of the Prophets of Doom for this podcast, and the rest of the Prophets of Doom were all of the other people who were talking about doom for any other reason, right? And that includes people who are arming themselves and building bunkers in Idaho. So it was just, yeah. But yeah. All right, Matt says Fukushima nuclear wastewater being released into the ocean. Yes, we all know about that, or we don't, but yes, it is. That's. But I mean, what are you going to do? And the thing is, like, I saw a news headline. I don't have the data on exactly what this was, but just today I was reading that some European country, right, is like going full bore nuclear now, right? And what we forget is we had Fukushima, we had 3 Mile Island, we had, what's the one outside of Kiev in Ukraine? We've had 3 huge nuclear disasters, right? And if we create power with nuclear, we don't think in terms of 100,000 years we have to store this stuff, but you got to store it for 100,000 years. I mean, this stuff does not go away. So yes, it is clean in the sort of short time window of opportunity, like we have to do something today to not end humanity in the next 20 years, 50 years. But I am so anti-nuke. I mean, it's just crazy that they're even considering all this. Let's see where else we have. Yes, The Great Story. Oh, thank you. So The Great Story is Dowd's YouTube channel. Thank you for those people who are pointing that out. Somebody asked, what do I think of the 2026 prediction without specifying what that prediction is or who made it? So let me clarify what that prediction is. But I really have not had enough of Antarctica yet. I have to have some more Antarctica. Matt Hunter, I'm not going to remove you. What do I think of the 2026 prediction? So there is this sort of group of people. They go under the heading of near-term human extinction, NTHE. And they actually had a Facebook group. And I was in that Facebook group for a while, for about a week. I got kicked out. And I will tell you why I got kicked out. In that group I was part of, and I'm not going to say the actual group because they might get mad at me, but a group associated with near-term human extinction, they had a pirated version of Bright Green Lies that they had one of their members had posted there so that anyone in the NTHE group could watch this without having to pay the $2.99, whatever it is, to watch it legitimately, downloading it from the website that's hosting it. And I paid for it to watch it. So when I saw this, I asked the person who led the group, I said, have you been given or asked for the right to post this here? And I got no response to my query. So I actually contacted one of the authors of the book, Bright Green Lies, who had also been involved with the documentary. And I said, are you aware of this pirated version on this private Facebook group? And they said, no, we don't know about that. And I said, well, here's the name of the Facebook account that's in charge of this, and if you want to contact them. And next thing you know, I was kicked out of that Facebook group. So I just consider that to be so extraordinarily unethical to, this is our community, right? These are people trying to get the message out that we're trying to get out, and they've got to eat. They've got to pay their rent, and they've got to heat their house, right? And you have this group just pirating their stuff, and posting it for free. And then when they get called on it, their reaction isn't to apologize. Their reaction is to kick me out of the group. And I think that is a sample of what I think about everything that group is, including their predictions, the integrity of the people who are in that group, the individual personalities associated with that movement. I find it all extraordinarily self-serving and unethical. So I would just say that there is, it was just a good idea to move away from that as fast as you can. I'm not saying that some of the things they present aren't right. There's certainly a lot of science to back up some of the things they say, but you will find that same content in so many other places, put out by genuinely good people who are doing what they can to give that information away, or to, in some cases, this is how they make their living by providing this information. And go to those people, find those people, look those people up, and just get away from the people who are sort of in it for the glory, who think everybody is against them and use their own persecution as kind of a cause. They're martyrs. This whole martyr syndrome. If anybody ever is a martyr, right? They say, I am a martyr. My life has been ruined because I believe this. I've lost this and this and this that I would have had if I didn't do this thing. Anytime anybody says that stuff, that's the person to avoid, right? That is the person to run from. Run from martyrs. There are no martyrs in the doomer movement, right? We're not here to throw ourselves on a sword. We're here to just survive with you and to share with you what we know as best we can, right? We're not here to be just saying, look how much pain I'm in, therefore I must be saying the truth, right? Because people who have been damaged as much as I've been damaged, right, would why would I do this unless what I said was the truth, right? So when you hear that message, that's the message to run from. And that's what I think about that person. Okay. That was maybe more than I should have said, right? All right. Robert says it was proven a few years ago that Antarctica's ice has collapsed ocean floor sediments to the ocean, so the understanding earlier that the ice will automatically be welded back was wrong. Robert, there was really a great article on that very topic that just came out today. So I'm going to invite you to sort of, the problem is that the Pine Island Glacier and Thwaites Glacier, you can't prove things about them because you can't get to them. And so it is an extraordinarily challenging task to even say anything that is absolutely true about that part of the planet. We try and look for the grounding line underneath these glaciers and see how fast, sort of the warm ocean water is encroaching on the grounding line and moving it back, and use that as some sort of predictive methodology. So I just read this article. You talk about what do I do every day, right? I just read this article today, and I have to say, this is one of the finest articles I have come across in a long time, sort of talking about all of what's really going on with Antarctica and these sort of key doomsday glaciers, the Pine Island and the Thwaites and that whole part of the world. So please just it looks like you can even listen to this. Listen to the story. I'm not sure how long that'll be. It's 23 minutes and 51 seconds if you listen to it. Please go to find this article, How We Came to Know and Fear the Doomsday Glacier by Marissa Gruns. Just today, right? This is just out today. And this will change everything you think about this. And not for the better, right? It's much, much worse. It's much worse. Much worse. But it is so well written and so well researched. So please have a look at that. So let's see where we are. I just think this is great. Ian says, BBC stuff? Where is this thing? Scuttles off And now you know what that means, Ian. I have to find it for you and post it up here just to be a good YouTube liver. So is that a thing, a noun, a YouTube liver? So I guess that is what I am. So BBC, Elliot Jacobson, let's just see that. And I think it's called The Prophets of Doom. And maybe I'm spelling the word prophets wrong. All right. So this is sort of generally the show. I think I was on the episode that aired like the 8th or the 9th episode. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, these are from 2016. All right, you're gonna have to look this up. All right, but this is roughly speaking what the show was that I was on. All right, let's see where we are. Stan says, I'm toasting you back with my bottle of local micro that I've now envisioned as a study of the warming ocean. Yeah, let me just try that a little bit more and see if I can find up my, the thing was that it really irritated me. The whole episode irritated me, so I did not post anything about it on Twitter. And I'd just be just as happy if you couldn't find it. So maybe that's how that is. So are there any other questions from you folks? I feel like I have kind of run through everything here. I don't know whether I've lost anything in the process, but it feels like I've kind of made my way through the questions that have been asked. So we've been going for about an hour and 15 now. I tend to like to go an hour and 15 to an hour and a half just as a rough line. But let me talk about like one last thing here, even though I didn't get any questions on this. I do have this one thing, since we're talking about Antarctica. This particular slide right here. Now, I've been sort of keeping track of the JAXA sea ice extent. So JAXA is this Japanese surveying authority that's been sort of keeping track of sea ice since about 1979. And what has happened, and the other one is the National Sea Ice Data Center, NSIDC, is that I could never find their area data. And everybody's like, oh, no, area is so much more important than extent. And the reason is that area has to do with how much actual physical area is covered by ice, whereas extent sort of grids out the region and says if a grid is more than 15% full of ice, then we'll call that as part of the extent, right? So sea ice area is about actual physical area. And what's going on in Antarctica right now is that we are at an all-time low for sea ice area. This Twitter user at KevPluck, P-L-U-C-K, created this website. And it's just one of my favorite places to go to, absolutely. Let me just see if I can't look this up. Here it is right here. And you can just see his website. You can go to it. Let me see if I can. I have to go away for a second. I'm going to try and pull it in so you can see the URL that he has using here as well in the upper bar there. So here we go. All right, so now you should be able to see in the upper left. Oh, look at, unfortunately, Mr. SHG66 just said, BBC Radio 4, The New Gurus, Episode 8, Prophets of Doom. Is that the one? Yes. Oh, sigh, you found it. Yes, that's the one. At any rate, go to this website. So, you can freeze frame on this later and copy down the URL. But what he does is he actually lets you get area for the Antarctic, the annual. And if we look at this graph, look at what we're at in the year 2023 for sea ice area for Antarctica. This is like crazy low. This is so off the charts compared to any other year ever in terms of a sea ice low, right? It's just as mind-boggling what's happening in the Antarctic right now as far as sea ice. So yeah, definitely, we always think about the Arctic in terms of the blue ocean event. When we get below 1 million square kilometers, it's going to be the superheating because of the latent heat of ice, right? And so once you don't have ice, the ocean could heat up really fast, and so the Arctic will heat up really fast, and that heat will spread and everything else that happens. Fine. Nobody was even paying attention, and all of a sudden the Antarctic is like going crazy right now. And what's the problem with this is that open ocean, right? Ocean that does not have ice on it, absorbs heat. And right now it's the middle of summer. It could not be more middle, late summer than it is right now in Antarctic. So what's happening is we have record low sea ice, and all of this solar energy just going straight into the water there, right? Just heating that water up like crazy. And that is the same heat that's going to melt being driven under the glaciers, the Thwaites and the Pine Island glaciers, right? It's this. So right now we have this record low Antarctic sea ice. I just think it's crazy. So yeah, this is one of the sites I troll every day. You talk about what do I do? I like to troll Kev. I can't believe he did this. It's such brilliant work. If you don't follow this guy, you have to follow him. Kev Pluck on Twitter. Just he's funny too, and I think he lives in a van in New Zealand or something. I mean, but he just creates the most brilliant stuff. So one of my favorite people, and I just wanted to do a shout out to him. So all right, let's see what else do we have. All right. Have you seen ice cover graph for the Great Lakes this year? No, Kelly, I'm guessing there's no ice cover. I'm guessing there's no ice cover on the Great Lakes this year. I don't know, Kelly. I have not seen that, but I know that there is record low snow on the East Coast. I know we had all of this lake effect snow into Buffalo and that area of New York about a little less than a month ago. But as far as actual sort of snowfall created by a storm front coming through and it being cold, there's very little snow. And let me just see if I can't go to another one of my favorite sites just to show you this. So one of my favorite sites that I love to troll, and I'm gonna go over here and just make sure that it is completely visible to you, because I want you to see a lot of this website. This is a really, truly great website. I know, this is all kind of dumb. Is this one called Tropical Tidbits? And you see, I still didn't get it because I'm off the edge here. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time because I want it to all be visible to you. All right, let's just try that. All right, so if you've never visited Tropical Tidbits, I really encourage you to go and just play around at this website. This one right here, one of the things I like to do all the time is I go to forecast models, and I will go to a region. So somebody is, for example, asking about the Great Lakes. So let's just see. The Great Lakes is sort of the eastern US, right? And so what we can do is we can go to thermodynamics and we can go to 2-meter temperature anomaly. And what we can run with this thing is we can do a trend. So we can actually, well, first of all, I want to make sure that right here we can sort of see what's going to happen. Look at these record temperatures that are happening, right? This is the temperature anomaly. So this is the amount above normal it is on the East Coast. So this is January 14, 18, 17, 16, 15. So look at all this heat that's coming in across the East Coast. The East Coast has been crazy hot. And it looks like for sort of at least the next week or so, possibly 10 days, they're just going to have crazy hot weather out there. So there's not going to be any snowfall happening on the East Coast. If you ever see me sort of post my animated GIFs, a lot of times where that will come from is right down here with the forecast gift. So what I can do is do something like from the hour being, let's say, plus 24, a day from now, up to hour 192, and I'll just say create GIF. And what it does is it actually creates now an animation, right? And I can just watch this animation. I will often post these things on Twitter, but this really gives you a sense for the flow of the temperature anomalies over the next 10 days or so. And you get to see how crazy it is. So yeah, you ask, is there ice on the Great Lakes? I don't know if there's ice, but what I know is there's record low snowfall this year on the East Coast. That is going to continue for at least another 7 to 10 days. All right, everybody. I think I have come to a natural end of this broadcast. So this feels like a good place to call it for the day. So yeah, I'm going to have one more toast to everybody who has joined me here today. Thank you all. Thank you for the great questions. Thank you for keeping me company here today during this rainstorm. Thank you for just being who you are, being a fellow doomer, understanding where we are in the trajectory of life and civilization and the future of the planet, and all of the compassion you have for others and the activism you have based on that knowledge is all appreciated. I appreciate all of you, so thank you. I'm sorry, this is just really good. One more. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And until we meet again, see you later.